what's up? Today we're looking at the Canon a6400 and the Canon 80D. Both of these are very popular cinematic filmmaking cameras and they're very popular vlogging cameras. In fact, the Sony a6400 is a very new camera from Sony and it's the first of its kind. So, what camera should you be getting in 2019? Should you be getting the tried and true old veteran camera like the Canon 80D, or should you be getting the new kid on the block, the Sony a6400? Let's check it out. Right off the bat, you'll notice that both of these cameras have 24 megapixel sensors, but that really does not make the camera. What really makes the camera is what's inside the camera and the design philosophy behind both of them. Both of these cameras are fantastic for photos and shoot RAW internally. However, the Sony a6400 can do uncompressed RAW, which gives you that much more data to play with and really tweak your images in post. The Canon 80D only does 7 frames per second, while the Canon 6400 does 11 frames per second. So when you're shooting motion stuff or shooting sports or wildlife, it just gives you that much more of an edge to really get the photo that you're looking for. Both of these cameras do 1080 at 23 and 30 internally. However, the Sony has an edge because it does 120 frames per second at HD and it does 4K internally. So if you're someone that's looking to do slow motion and 4K, the Sony's definitely the clear winner here. The Canon does have a beautiful image, but doesn't really keep up with the modern specs of the Sony camera. What I really like about the Sony is the fact that it has so many color science options. It has HGL, which is hybrid log gamma. It has S-Log2, S-Log3, bunch of cinema modes. It really can handle any kind of shooting environment. If you're someone that's very serious about crafting a cinematic film image, this is definitely the camera to get because it's so flexible and it can let you do so much with it. Whereas the Canon does not have any built-in cinema looks. It's just that standard Canon look and then you work with it in post. However, it shoots at 50 megabits per second for video. So when you take it to post, you can still do a lot with it, but it's not quite as much as the 100 megabits that you get from the Sony, which, you know, if you do math, that's double. So if it really came down to trying to shoot something cinematically and you were just looking at what the sensor was capable of, I would definitely go with the a6400. I would say it's a better fit because it's a bigger body, you can put more accessories on it, you can really kit it out, but you can also kit out the a6400, put a cage on it, put a mic on it, this and that can do really, really well. The one thing that I do feel like the a6400 is missing in terms of filmmaking is the fact that it does not have a headphone jack to listen to your audio. That would make this camera perfect, and I would say it completely would beat the Canon 80D top LCD. The Canon 80D has a built-in top LCD screen. If you're on set, you can just quickly look down, see where your settings at, see where your ISO is at, shutter speed's at, focus mode is at. That is super duper helpful. And it is an older camera, so it doesn't have quite the specs of the a6400, but the design philosophy is impeccable. And I think in 2019, what you really have to look at, are you crafting a cinematic image? If you're crafting a cinematic image, I would go with the a6400, put a cage on it, deck it out so it feels like a proper cinema camera. But if I was vlogging, I would probably go with the Canon 80D, mainly because that camera is just easier to use for filmmaking. I like the way it's built, I like the design behind it. I feel like it's really made for video. And even though the image lacks behind the a6400, if I'm vlogging, I'm not really gonna be doing much to the image. I'm probably gonna take it and just have that image go straight to my vlog. I'm not gonna put a LUT on it, I'm not gonna do much color grading to it. So for that, I think vlogging, 80D is the winner, but cinematic, a6500. Neither of these cameras have built-in stabilization, so if you're looking to do handheld work, I would probably go with the Canon 80D. I know that's surprising because it's a bigger camera, but because it's a bigger camera, I feel like it's easier to keep it stable. Speaking of stabilization, what I really appreciate about the a6400 is the fact that it's so small and it's so easy to put on a gimbal, and I don't have to buy a very expensive gimbal because it's such a small camera. Where I feel like with the 80D, I gotta get a proper Ronin or Crane 3 to put that thing on there, and even then, it's a really big camera, and I'm just barely gonna be able to get it on there. With the a6400, I feel like I could just get like a $200 gimbal and it'll be fine. Both of these cameras have really, really, really good autofocus, but the Sony just completely kills, trounces, dominates, whatever fun word you want to use. Dual pixel is older technology. It's been around since almost 2016, and it is fantastic. I used to have a Canon C300 Mark II. I absolutely love the autofocus in that. It's contrast-based, but the Sony a6400 has the new real-time eye tracking technology where it intelligently recognizes the fact that that is a person in the frame, and it will track with them in and out. And it's just really, really like groundbreaking. For a camera to actually understand what's in frame, what the subject is, and can dynamically change the autofocusing as that subject moves in and out. Like if you're looking at someone's eye, it will focus to their eye. If they kind of turn their back and you can't see their eye anymore, it'll just change autofocus modes. Whereas the Canon dual pixel autofocus isn't quite that smart. It is older technology. Depending on exactly how important autofocus is to you, I would definitely go with the a6400 because I genuinely feel like it's set it and forget it for autofocus. The Canon 80D will get what you want 9 out of 10 times. And like that's a 90% on an exam. 9 out of 10 times, it will totally get what you want. But if you don't need the things that the Canon 80D offers, like a bigger body and that bulky, beefy feel and like all the little features that it comes with, purely based on autofocus, a6500. Comparison video would be complete if I did not mention the battery life in these cameras. The Canon cameras have absolutely phenomenal battery life. You could literally shoot an entire day, video or photo, on a single battery. I've gone a couple of days without switching my batteries because I'll shoot like a couple hours every day and just like the battery lasts forever. However, the Sony cameras, maybe an hour on a single battery. Usually I find if I'm ever doing a project on a Sony camera, I will literally either rent or buy 5 to 6 new batteries for that camera. So what's the final verdict? And if I'm being completely honest, the a6400 is a clear winner despite the battery. Here's what I mean. I love the Canon 80D. I love everything it can do. I like the Canon look. I love the image out of it. I love everything that it does, and I like the fact that it's designed with filmmakers in mind. But in 2019, I feel like the specs are just a little bit outdated. I feel like the a6400 lacks quite a bit in terms of design and being made for filmmakers, and just like the way it's built, it's not big, it's a little too small for me sometimes, but what it packs on the inside is so worth the sacrifice. That autofocusing system, the color science, the slow motion options, it's so good. As a vlogger, I feel like the Canon 80D is a much better buy and the Sony a6400 is probably not the best. The Sony is really for someone that's looking to do deliberate cinematic work that really needs the slow motion, the autofocusing, and the color science. But if you're someone that's just documenting, getting the content out there, and just connecting with people through a visual platform, I would definitely say the Canon 80D is a much better option for you, especially considering the battery life.